Good morning, friends. It's Bob again, bringing you another reflection on what it means for the church to be the temple of God and what it means actually for us to be this holy, sacred place, this sacred space where God actually dwells. I remember as a young believer, I read this book by A.W. Tozer called the Knowledge of the Holy. And it was this powerful kind of impressive type of a thing on the character of God and who God is and how now I have been brought into relationship with God who is transcendent, who is holy, who is immutable, unchanging, who is faultless, and all of these different qualities of God that were just so profoundly impressed on my soul in the midst of that, in reading that. Now, when we talk about something being sacred, another dimension of that, our imaginations need to get a hold of what is sacred and then to start to associate what is sacred with us personally, us physically, us gathered together. But I also want to explore another thing, and that is that if something is sacred, we talk about it differently. We talk about the things that are sacred and holy differently than we do the things that are mundane and daily and everything. And I think in the church in the United States, we tend to talk and feel very free to talk about the church in a very glib and a very critical and in a manner that really I don't think that the Lord is really quite good with. I think that we're very good with talking down on other churches that are not our own, that are a different brand than us. But you and I have to understand that God loves His whole church. God loves His whole church, not just the one that you go to, not just the one that I'm the point leader for, but He loves all of His church through all of time. He loves His whole church. He's not ashamed of us. Now, that doesn't mean He won't correct us, but because I think that's actually part of being parented by God. But the reality is that how we talk about other Christians and how we talk about other churches, it really matters. I'm so profoundly grateful to have had one of the mentors in my life as John Wimber, a guy who had this tremendous renewal ministry within the church, but he loved the whole church. Now we had a sort of a denomination called the Vineyard that was kind of started by John and this whole thing, but John loved the whole church, and so we would have these giant meetings all over the world. And when we would come into these meetings, I would be sitting next to Catholic nuns and guys, priests from the Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox faith, had these giant long beards and wore these different kind of clothing and different things. And it was like, and we're all worshiping the Lord and we've all got our hands raised and we're having these massive encounters with God together in this sacred space. But John Wimber loved the whole church. He didn't see this us and them type of dynamic. And I think that in America right now, this us and them thing is just rampant. And I think we got to flush that, folks. We've got to actually say no to us and them in this. And what do we need to do? We need to start honoring the church and as something sacred to God with our words, with what we say. And so we praise, we see other things that are praiseworthy, and we say those things about it. I was on Calvary Murrieta's website the other day, and I just looked at all the ministries and the way that they care for people so well and how they are doing it. I called Brian up and I just said, dude, I want to be like you when I grow up, because I love the ministries of what you guys are doing and how you've raised up people and how you're caring for people and how you're discipling people. It's beautiful. The Calvary Chapels, they're our brothers and sisters. The Rancho communities, these are all, guys that I'm friends with. Impact Church in Menifee, I'm friends with these people, but I actually genuinely love what they're doing, and it's different than what we're doing. And I think that most of the time in the church, we're afraid to say that there are praiseworthy things about other churches, but there are. And there's lots of them. And we speak, it's what we speak and how we speak that honors the church on the whole and individual expressions therein. But it also means that when we treat something as sacred, it also isn't just what we say about that, it's what we don't say about that. That we're not glibly critical, that we're not just shooting from the hip and saying all kinds of negative things, but that we take care with our words to actually say, because, if somebody's talking about my wife to me or in front of me, and they are not speaking good about that, it's gonna affect me. I'm not gonna be pleased about that, because my wife is somebody that's cherished and is beautiful and is imperfect, but she is intrinsically connected to me. And so what you say about her in my presence or outside of my presence really matters to me. So as we start to treat the church as the temple and as the sacred space of God, we need to use our words to speak honorably, respectfully, reverently about her. And that in the individual expressions therein, as imperfect as they are, because remember, you and I are part of that same thing, and we are imperfect on our very best days. So let's reclaim this idea of us being the temple of God, and that being a pure and a holy and reverential and a respectful and an honorable thing. Thanks so much for joining me today. I love you. I'm walking with you in this. God bless you.